Good morning, my friends. Welcome to the 10-minute book talk, where three best-selling authors talk all things bookish with you for 10 short and sweet minutes every week. It is a big, big week at the book talk. You know why? Because our own fabulous, amazing, gorgeous, talented, so talented, sometimes, like, if we didn't love her so much, we might hate her. Katherine Reay has a brand new book out. Look at this. First of all, hold it up. Let's just crush on this cover for a minute.
I know.
I love this cover so much.
I love it.
Is it a Travi or a line?
Yes. No, that's a Travi, and there's a yellow one in the book. And you know, at this time in his journey, it's pretty much the only car you could buy.
Yeah.
So
and then we kind of made a cardboard,
that it made it to the cover.
It's absolutely gorgeous. And what's inside is even better. So, Katherine, welcome to the 10-minute book talk. Would you tell us a little? I feel right. It's like, yeah. Anyway, it's like we're interviewing my sister. So tell us a little bit about your brand new book, The Berlin Letters.
Okay, so it released this week, which is so exciting, and it is about a CIA codebreaker, Louisa Vogler, who, in her job, discovers codes that are reminiscent of a childhood memory. And she then digs a little back into family lore and finds out that her grandfather was a spy, and her father is languishing behind the Berlin Wall in an East German Stasi prison. And so she impetuously decides to break all the rules, head to East Germany if she can get in, and break him out of jail. So it is a fun story. It really is. It sounds like a lot of heaviness, and there is some, you know, there's a lot going on at that time in history, but it is a story of courage and family and sacrifice and love, and there's a little romance and all sorts of good stuff. So I really loved writing this book. Loved it.
It was fun for us because we were hearing about it. We were hearing about it through the process, and it just, you know, you knocked it out of the park, as you tend to do. So
excited.
It's not my question, is it? Go, Rachel.
No, it isn't. And you're not actually asking a question. You're just gushing. Which is
I'm gushing.
So, Katherine, I think this hook is so compelling. I remember my jaw kind of dropped the first time you're like, she's going to go across the wall into East Germany and try to break her dad out of a Stasi prison. I was like, sign me up, sign me up. How in the world did you come up with this concept?
You know, it was a few different things came together. Number one, after writing, you know, my spy story set in Moscow, I knew I wanted to stay in the Cold War era. There's so much history there, and there's so much great fodder for story. The tensions are high. But I also knew I wanted to frame it. Like, the Berlin Wall was this natural framing of both the time in history and for the story. So the story starts the day the wall goes up, and it ends the day the wall goes down. But how I came up with this, I was doing a little research in CIA code breaking, and I stumbled across the Venona Project. And that was back from 1943 to 1980, where these brilliant women, and project was primarily made up of women, kept going back to old Soviet codes and digging out new nuggets over those 37 years. And I thought, okay, what if that didn't end in 1980? What if the Venona 2 started and they kept digging into those old codes? Because they didn't break them all. So that was one part. And then the other part was digging into the Stasi. So behind the Iron Curtain, all the secret sort of services of the countries in the Warsaw Pact, they all had sort of different jobs and all reported to Moscow. Well, the Stasi was famous for information gathering and disinformation. And so it was really fun to dig into some of the things that they buried and hid until the Stasi started releasing files, opening them up to the world in 1991. So there's just a lot of these nuggets of history that were really fun to explore. So I just had a ball. And then there was punk rock. I had no idea what punk rock behind the Iron Curtain meant compared to what it meant west, you know, in London and in the United States. And so that was really fun too. So there you go.
Well, I feel like you've almost
I still have no idea.
I feel like you've almost answered my next question, but I'm going to go there anyway. No, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right.
I got going.
I mean, it's your first time on the show, so I mean, No,
Blah, 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 blah.
one of the hallmarks of a Katherine Reay book is just this really meticulous research that is also like I'm not naming names. Sometimes authors can they can get so excited in the research, they bury us in a little information. It's like trying to drink from the water hose kind of thing. So, I know that you probably like learned way more things than you put in the book because we have to trim. It cannot be a 900-page book or no one will. It's only good for doorstops at that point.
Unless it's about dragons. Then
unless it's about dragons.
And right on.
No, there's no dragons in this book.
There are no dragons.
So tell us some stuff that really surprised you. And if it's things that didn't end up making the cut, we'd love to know that.
Okay, so real quick, number one, I absolutely agree with you. Research should be an iceberg. I should have 90% outside the novel so that you believe the 10% that's inside the novel.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to put it.
That's actually one of the reasons I do all my research into handwritten notebooks, so that I know it's unbelievable. But the time-consuming part of that is I have to go through the whole notebook to find one silly little fact I know I wrote down, but that means it gets organic in my head. And so really the story is always primary and the research secondary, but there was a ton of it. And a few things that really surprised me were, I'm just going to give you little hints, sort of the history around solidarity in Poland in 1981 and how Moscow was responding to that, and how that a moment, an inflection point in history was actually when President Reagan in the US was shot. And the Soviet Union, which may or may not have been about to invade Poland at that time, was not willing to risk a US military on high alert. Because you see, it's coincidental. They had nothing to do with Reagan's assassination attempt. However, that's what happens when that happens in the US. The US military, not knowing what it was all about, goes on high alert. So these nuggets of history that you're like, oh my gosh, I've never heard of this, in research. And so if I'm telling it from the East German perspective, they might have known those things way back in the day, whereas we only know them much later after files get declassified. So it was really fun to play with timeline in that way. Who knew what when? So there you go. That's one little gem.
Oh my God, I love that. How fascinating. I love the specificity of what you put in, and you're right. You put in the 10%, but it's like relevant and interesting 10%. I want to know the 90%. Okay, so I'm curious with this book, what do you want readers to walk away from? What are the big themes? Not from, with. What do you want them to walk away with? What are the big themes?
So as I said, it's a chase and a spy story that is to carry you along. But this is also the story of a young woman who has not really understood her family, clearly. And there is the idea of finding yourself, self-definition. There is the idea of forgiveness. There is the idea of rising to an occasion and courage. There is the idea of sacrifice on many levels. Both her father, herself, her mother, incredible sacrifices are made throughout this book. But it all leads, absolutely, all of this is wrapped up in hope. That is why we as humans do these things. We make sacrifices in hope. We reach out in love, in hope. So that's really what I want readers to walk away with, this buoyant feeling of, yes, the world has been in this place before. It may come in this place again, but humans are remarkable, resourceful, ingenious, hope-filled, giving, extraordinary.
All good stuff. And you've got just such a courageous main character.
I love her.
Yes. No, it's just remarkable. So you guys, you're going to want to hold the book up again.
You're so going to want to buy this book.
It's out. You need it. This is the antidote to all the hopelessness you're feeling. It's in here. Plus it's like an amazing romp with a character you're going to love. So go get the Berlin Letters, but also Katherine, you're about to Your bags are
Oh
packed.
my
You're
goodness.
ready to go. Yeah,
So
where can we
true.
find you on your tour?
Okay, so go to my website, Katherine Reay, namesquishedtogether.com, and under events, you will see, honestly, an exhausting tour. I will be shredded by the end, but every time I meet a reader, I will be so up and happy. So please come out and meet with me. So yeah, I'm touring mostly Florida and the Southeast at this time, I think. There's some obviously stops in Chicago where I live, etc.
Right.
But yeah, it's a big tour, and I'm really, really excited to go out and share the Berlin letters and this little bit of history.
And all the things we can only we've got 10 minutes, so we can only give you,
I know.
all the questions. And if you want to get extra points, like bring Katherine a snack when
Oh,
you
chocolate. Bring me chocolate.
Just, just a little act of
Or
appreciation.
just to hug me.
As they say in the South, honey, let me just put a bug in your ear about that. So bring the author a snack. Katherine, I feel like this might be obvious, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe. So what's bringing you joy today, my love?
Oh my
Other
goodness.
than your sweater.
Oh, my sweater. Okay, so this is my Christmas gift from my husband. Look at this. Is
Love
not
it.
Adorable.
Okay,
Love
so
it.
it is absolutely bringing me joy. Chatting with you two bring me joy because I'm just going to share this with the 10-minute book talk world. These two live near each other, so I get constant texts about walks and kayaking and pedicures and just chatting over coffee. And I never get to participate because I'm in Chicago. But now I do. I get to see your beautiful faces and spend time with you. So there you go. You're bringing me joy.
Well, you bring us joy. We only send you those things, so we're hoping that we'll just break down your defenses and you'll finally move to the West Coast. So it's
not rubbing it in. It's like slowly breaking.
Exactly. It's slowly turning up the temperature on the water.
Yeah, it's a little cruel, but there's a method to our madness. So,
All right,
my
hold up
friends.
your book.
Oh, yeah.
Hold up your book, guys.
Oh, love it.
Run. Don't walk to your bookstore and get the Berlin letters. Better yet, go off and meet Katherine on her book tour. Bring chocolate. It's going to be fascinating. Such a great read. And you know what? Get the book and then read it. And then we'll see you back here next week at the 10-minute book talk for more bookish fun and another great author. So we'll see you then.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.